it wasn't that long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, there were 5 head coaching vacancies in the NBA. Last night, another one was filled. What more can you tell us about Monty Williams in Detroit?
Malika, a historic coaching deal in the NBA. 6 years, $78.5 million. That's over $13 million a year for Monty Williams. That is a big reason why he decided to take that Detroit job. But there are others. And Troy Weaver, their general manager, he and Monty Williams have history. They were in Oklahoma City for a time together. They see team building, rebuilds, similar fashion. Cade Cunningham, the #1 overall pick from a couple years ago, coming off a season-ending injury last year. That was a big drawing card for Monty Williams. But he loves building teams. He loves building programs. And that is why Detroit just kept going after him and offering him a deal that now is going to reshape the coaching salary market. The highest paid coach in history, certainly the highest paid coach now. You've got Steve Kerr with 4 championships in Golden State with 1 year left on his deal. I think there's a sense Steve Kerr, he could be worth $20 million in an open marketplace. And so you'll start to see, I think, teams look at this starting to look a little more like the NFL, where there are owners who see coaches who are difference makers. You're seeing bidding situations start to emerge and NBA coaching salaries among the elite starting to move up and looking more like NFL coaches.
Monty Williams eclipsing Greg Popovich as the highest paid coach in the NBA, certainly reshaping the coaching market. We do have some more coaching news to get to here, though, Woj. The Celtics, their Game 7 loss to the 8th-seeded Miami Heat, it has left some big questions for Boston's offseason. So the future of first-year head coach Joe Mazzulla, of course, was one of them. So let's take a listen to Brad Stevens, who spoke today at the team's end-of-season news conference.
Was he perfect? Would he like to have some moments back? Every coach would, even the coaches nobody talks about would, right? And we all that have coached know how hard that is. And at the same time, our players, our staff, everybody around him, believe in him, and we got to do our best to, support him going forward.
Just real quick to clear up any potential gray area, Joe is back next year.
Yeah.
All right, so Brad Stevens says that Joe Mazzulla is, in fact, coming back next year. I want to start in studio in Los Angeles. Perk, what do you think of this decision?
Well, I thought that they should, but that was the right decision. I didn't think Joe Mazzulla was going anywhere, but I do think that they have to learn, for as the Celtics organization, and make sure they bring back the right pieces on his bench for his assistant coaches. And assistant coaches are not guys that are just handing the head coach a clipboard or telling them how many timeouts he has. We have to look at who they have on the bench and if those guys embody the definition of Celtic pride. You look at the Miami Heat, they have 4 former Heat players that are on the coaching staff, from Quinn, Caron Butler, McAdoo, Malik Allen. Those guys are able to fill in that gap between the players and the head coach. Even when you look at the Golden State Warriors, you bring back Andre Iguodala. You knew he wasn't going to play, but he's an extension. He's been there before to be able to help guys like Kuminga, Moses Moody, and guys to that nature. The Spurs, they hire former players. I feel like the Celtics, they have to get some assistant coaches in there, some personnel in those seats that have played in the Celtic uniform, so they can let those guys know what Celtic pride is all about and hold their players accountable when need be.
Well, Woj, what is the decision-making process for the Celtics right now as they were evaluating Mazzulla, as they are evaluating his staff?
Well, listen, I think there are going to be some changes on Joe Mazzulla's staff. I think there's a couple assistants, who may end up with Ime Udoka. In Houston, I think one name to watch in Boston, Stephen Silas, former head coach in Houston. I think that's a name that certainly is going to be prominent in their conversations, and there'll be others. And I think, remember, Joe Mazzulla took this job over right before the start of training camp, did not have the ability to have an offseason, the plan, and to put all the things in you'd like to do, but he'll have that this summer. And certainly, I think Brad Stevens will have a voice in that. I think Joe Mazzulla leans on Brad Stevens, but certainly this was a chance for Joe Mazzulla to grow. And listen, this is a coach who they still believe in Boston, and a lot of people around the league. Still has a very high ceiling, still got to Game 7 of the conference finals, and he was thrown into it this season. And I think now with a more veteran staff around him, perhaps a former head coach or two, Joe Mazzulla was 34 years old, had been behind the bench, had not been a front of the bench assistant yet. And so all in all, I think they were pleased in Boston, but they know your window, no matter how talented, how many players are under contract, your window is short in the NBA. They want to win a championship. And I think this offseason is about putting everything around Joe Mazzulla as an organization to help him reach his ceiling and get this team over the hump.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.